Hello and welcome to Shay Zasaa and to a Zasaa Zooms In. I've got my longtime friend Chinwe with me, who you've met before, but it's been a while since she's been on here. Chinwe, welcome.
Happy to be here again.
Have you been avoiding me?
No, not at all.
Okay. Will you come back?
Absolutely. Depending on how you behave.
No, I make the decisions. Okay, today we're talking about, we've titled it Home is Where the Heart Is. So we can go many places with this. But I think, what is home? What would you say home is?
Home is where my heart is. I'm not being funny. No, home can be many places.
Yeah.
It depends on what you consider. Where is your heart? Like,
You know, the reason I said that is because I always say, I don't know if I've said this to you before, that every time I arrive in Nigeria, I've not lived there for 30-something years, but the moment I arrive at the airport and that heat slaps me,
you're like, I'm home.
I'm just like, I'm home.
Yes.
And I always question it. I'm like, how can you be home when you haven't lived here for so many years? But clearly my heart, or a chunk of my heart, is there.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of your memories, your present, your experiences.
Yeah, because but when I arrive in the UK,
where you're actually coming home. Like,
when I'm actually coming home, I don't think, I'm home.
I think it depends on what you want. Because sometimes you can go to a totally foreign place and you just feel at home in that space.
Yeah, but you see, I feel like there's, somebody said something to me the other day, and I said, yeah, because I'm Arab. And honestly, there's no...
I never know what you're about to say. I'm like, okay, that's something else.
No, because when I arrive in Arab countries, I have the same thing. And initially I thought it was hot countries. So when I arrived in Nigeria, so I thought, it's because it's hot. And obviously I'm coming from a cold country. Yeah. So I'm like, when I arrive but if I arrive in
Miami,
Spain,
you're like, no,
it's like I'm in Miami, But when I arrive in an Arab country, if it's Marrakesh, if it's,
there's something about that. Morocco, there's something about that space and what you love.
Yeah, absolutely. It must be because so that's what. So obviously, home is not where one necessarily thinks it is. It's where the heart is, and the heart could be in many places.
Maybe your heart could be in many places, and with many people. Like I know sometimes when I get to my children, wherever they are, that would be where my home is for that moment.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So you are an interior designer by profession.
Yes, I am.
So I just thought when we said home is where the heart is.
30 years on, by the way.
30 years on, by the way.
Yeah.
Why was that necessary to say?
I don't know, because why not? Why not?
In case 30, you think she became one yesterday.
No, not quite 30. No, but almost, not quite 30.
Not quite 30, for years. Yeah. So the role of an interior designer, correct me if I'm wrong, is to bring,
bring your clients' ideas to life.
That's not where I was going.
But also, of course, in Nigeria, it might mean a totally different thing. We have many different meanings, depending on where we are. I work with different contractors to bring a project to life.
Yes, but so that's the practicality of it. But the end goal is to. So what
actually,
I was
okay, so there you go. So I think for me, I try and bring some soul into a space.
So this is what I was going to say.
I bring in some soul, something into a space.
Because I think, whilst we're saying home is where the heart is, when you come down to the actual physical place that is home, it's important that it's home. Like it's
what's comfortable to you. It's what's important to you. Like I mean, I have so many different clients, and it depends. Some people, it's very important that, like for me, I remember when we were setting up our home, what was important to me was my kitchen and my bathroom. Anything else didn't really matter. Yeah. So it just depends on what's important to your particular client.
Okay, so in bringing, I don't like the way you're stopping these sentences like as if, it's a conversation. It's not I'm answering your questions.
Rude. Oh my
gosh. Because you're just ending them like,
because okay, carry on. Let's hear what
you can end them, but end them with softly, not with a...
Thank you very much. Thank you for the tutorial. Gosh.
No, because when you did, I'm like, oh gosh, what am I going to ask her next? But I don't want it to be an interview though.
Okay,
it's a conversation.
Okay, let's go.
Should I just
very
end
hard
this
work.
here now?
Very hard work. Very hard. I wasn't going. I'm being abused. I'm leaving.
Yeah, leave it. I think we should end it right now. No, okay. So I think. How do you make a home vibrant? How do you bring soul into a home? And does that vibrancy and soul, is it just a physical thing? Because, anyway, let me let you answer before I tell you my opinion.
So I don't think it's just a physical thing. I think there are many different aspects. Definitely the physical is important, but then it's also about being warm and receptive. You know, what do you want people, how do you want people to feel when they come to your home?
And like, okay, can you, because I agree with that, but I often wonder how, that's not the interior designer.
That's not the interior designer's job. I can't do that.
You can't do that, okay.
But how do you make people feel when they come to your home? Like, I know for me, it's very important that people are very probably too comfortable. Wait.
Yep.
Too comfortable, so I need to step that back a bit.
Get some boundaries.
But yes, I need to set up serious boundaries. But it is very important for me that people are comfortable. For other people, it's other things. But for me, I want that a safe space also. You know, what do you want to feel when people come? You know what I mean? Do you want people to feel safe? Do you want people to feel comfortable?
Well, you know, it's funny because I've always said, I mean, we haven't quite got there yet, but I always thought, you know how you have big dreams.
Of course, absolutely.
I always thought that we would build or buy a mansion. Yeah. And when I say mansion, not huge mansion, but like, you know, like maybe 7-8 bedroom house. Is that huge?
Yeah,
well, what I mean is, because when I think mansion, I'm thinking 20 bedrooms. So that's what I'm saying. Not mansion, but a substantial sized house. And I always said that we would name the house the Manger. And so so every house that we've been in, I always think of it as the Manger. And my thinking of that was because I wanted it to be a place that people who had nowhere else to go could come to, a place where people were received regardless, a place where, so that was always the thing for my home. And I've always done, and it's funny because the other day, one of my kids said something, and I said to Ali, I said, this Manger thing has, even though we haven't got the physical house that I thought we would have,
but it's also in the concept. It's still working. Because I know I've come to your house and I see your kids' friends and things. So,
so that's what I mean. So basically, it's happening without having the space that I thought we needed to make it happen. So I think for me, that's. I mean, obviously, you wanted to be loved, but I think the most important thing was the accepting. That was for when I was thinking of
a comfortable space, a space that people feel they can return to.
Yes, but then you see, like you said, this is sometimes the challenge.
It is a problem.
You know, because the days when my son, I mean, not so much now, but when he first went off to university, his friends just continued
coming. It didn't matter
that he wasn't there. They literally arrive, and then my daughters are like, "But he's not here." They're like, "Yeah, well, anyway, give me the remote, give me," and then they take over the sitting room, and you know what I mean, which I loved. I actually loved it, but I understood why my girls were getting it because they're thinking, "Well, he's gone now. Now we have access
a bit of space." But apparently, no.
All of the other. So I think, So how you? But I think there was something you said before when we were talking, and you said peaceful. You didn't mention it just now.
Well, menopause is also in there. I know that's not our topic. But yes, I think a peaceful space. You know, I've always thought for all of us coming home, anybody coming home, that home should be a peaceful space. After you leave the hectic outside. Well, for us, we live in Lagos, so leaving that hectic Lagos, you're coming back home, you're coming to your peaceful space. You're coming, it's solace, it's beautiful.
It's funny, I think it was Oprah I first heard said, I mean, I'm sure other people have said it, but it was Oprah I first heard say, but she was referring to your bedroom. And she was saying that your bedroom should be like your literally your, as in that should be your haven. Yeah, that that everywhere else can be a mess, but your bedroom must be where you find peace, where everything is, and when I heard her say that, I thought, yeah, actually, everywhere else can be a mess, but let me have where I can just come and know that I don't care what the kids are doing. I don't care what.
And I think that those spaces are different at different times in your life. Because I know at some point, an important space for me was a space to pray, right? Yeah. A space it's now my dressing room, right? But it's a space where I can go in and I'm on my own and I can do what I want. And then other times, like I said, when we first moved, it was our kitchen. Yeah. My kitchen was very important to me. Not so much now because I'm not very interested in cooking.
Yeah, but the kids were younger then.
Kids were younger, yes, exactly. So it keeps changing.
Anyway. But I think I feel like they say the kitchen is the heart of the home. So I do feel that to a certain extent, the kitchen is always like the meeting point of. I mean, maybe some people do it in the dining room, but that that thing of someone cooking, talking,
nourishment,
you know what I mean.
Yes,
it's like
where you can
so I do think
people.
So I do think that the kitchen is an important space in, or should be an important space in most places. Yes. Having said that, I'm constantly throwing people out of my kitchen.
Why?
Well, I think one, it's not that big, but two, it's like, what are you doing here? If we're not, you know that if you're not helping me, or you're not,
I know that feeling.
Do you know what I mean? Just let me get on
here.
with it, type of thing. But I kind of regretted it a bit later because I was thinking I should have insisted that they helped me with certain, instead of getting them out. And I remember a friend of mine, Kemi, you know her, she always, I don't know if she's still like this, I have to check, but she always used to be like, when I'm in the kitchen, I need to be by myself. And, and she cooks fantastically, but she couldn't do it with anyone else.
So I also don't like people being in the kitchen with me when it's a lot of pressure. I don't like cooking when I'm under pressure. And it also depends on who is with me. Like if my husband is with me, Vlad is with me, then he's correcting and telling me this, and I'm like, no, then you come and
get
cook.
out.
Yes, exactly. So I like being alone, cooking, no pressure, and no one is hungry. That's the other thing. I don't want to cook for hungry people. I mean, I want hungry people to eat, but I don't want that pressure.
Yeah. But you see, I think it's because in my mind, again, this vision that I had that hasn't quite come to pass yet would be that, I'd be cooking and they'd be sitting around and we'll be gisting.
Yes,
we're having a conversation. So it's not the pressure, but the company is there without the pressure. But it seems like I haven't managed to match those two. When the company is there, there's the pressure.
Yes, the pressure, exactly. Because people are hungry.
But it's not like that in the movies now. You see them.
It's not now. And it's always nice. Light
banter
food.
going on, and
yes,
everybody's having fun.
It also depends on what you're cooking, because if you're cooking some tough things, then you're like, no.
That's true. That's true. So, oh, I thought you were going to say something.
No.
So why did you say so?
Because I can. And I can change my mind. Many things I've learned in these 53 years.
Okay. On that note,
yes,
I'm going to ask Chinwe 5 things that she has learnt in these 53 years. So number 1, you said because I can.
Number 1, that I can change my mind. That's 1.
You actually say that like that was total freedom for you to learn that. It is,
absolutely. I didn't realize it. I mean, obviously, we always know you can change your mind.
Yeah.
But you don't know that you can change your mind with...
no guilt.
No guilt and acceptance or not. Doesn't matter. It's my choice. I can change my mind. So I'm very, very happy about that. I'm very happy about that. Yes, I've learned I can change my mind.
So have you... Sorry. We've gone completely off, but it's okay. It's okay. Have you...
we always do, anyway. We never... I'm surprised we didn't go earlier.
Have you instilled that in your... I was going to say in your children, but I was actually going to say your daughter, but I'm now saying in your children. Have you instilled... Because the way you're saying it's like you've learned it later in life. Has she learned it already?
No, she hasn't. I think I've learned it later because this is the time. Okay. I think this is the time. I don't think... She can't change her mind on everything. I mean, she can change her mind on a few things, but certain things that you need to follow through, you can...
Okay, so you're saying she shouldn't have the liberty at this age.
Not at this age. I mean, there's certain things that, let's... And I'm not talking about what you would typically think I'm talking about. Just certain things, we want you to continue. If you're sewing this and you're stitching it, can you finish it? Yeah. I mean, it teaches
so it's
habits.
About finishing.
Yes. But in terms of changing, no, I haven't really instilled that in her yet. I don't think... First of all, this generation is different. I think they'll learn it way before we learned it, or way before I learned it. But yeah, that is one very...
But it's funny because I get it. That it's important to know you can change your mind, and I think it's actually key that you should know, and I think that everybody should know they should change their mind, but it's finding the balance between you can change your mind and you must persevere, you must see things through, but I don't think that they're mutually exclusive in the sense that I don't think that changing your mind means that you won't see something
Absolutely.
through.
Absolutely, yeah, right. That also... So, yeah, but I think you have to have the maturity of mind to understand the two, and understand that, you can do both.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Because I'm just thinking about one of my daughters, and I'm thinking she changes her mind all the time, and I'm now wondering whether, which I think is a good thing, but there is the balance. It's finding the balance
finding that balance
between the two.
Number 2.
Number 2. She's really excited about this.
Yes, because Setting up boundaries. That's one thing I've learned. I've had to learn the hard way, and we're obviously not going to go into that. But setting up boundaries and understanding that. So setting up boundaries is number 2. Number 3, because I've always had this conversation.
Wait, now we have to talk about.
Wait, before I forget. So number 3.
Yeah.
Number 3 is that. You see, look at.
Menopause. We're going to do. I mean, I've done menopause on here a few times, but I think we're still going to come back to it because it's such a big thing.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 is boundaries. Number 3 is that people don't always feel the same way that you feel. Like sometimes when I see people outside, and they're like trying to say hello.
You can't.
Wait, hold on.
Into this
no, hold on a second. I'm not going
into
into the conversation. I'm just saying that sometimes you see people outside and they try and act like they can't see you, and I'm like, but you can see me. But I saw you, so I know you can see me.
But they have the right to change their mind.
Wait, no, that's rude. That's different. And I'm always saying, no, but they saw me now. I saw them. And so I've also found that, look, what I'm experiencing, they might not be experiencing. And also how I take you might not be how you take me. So I'm learning that as well. I've learned that as well. So back to boundaries. Yes.
Okay, boundaries I have. So, I mean, I think I did a thing. I'm trying to remember who I did it with on here about boundaries. I think that it was with one. Yeah, it was a real big debate. Now that I remember it, because I was saying that I think that boundaries are necessary, and I think it was one that was saying, but that boundaries is like putting up almost blocking yourself. And I was saying no, they're for your safety and for your, you know what I mean. Rather than yes, they do keep people out type of thing, but she felt it was a bit too rigid and that type of thing. So I can't remember where we ended with that, but we did have a conversation about that. So I think why are boundaries important?
For your safety, for my safety. I think for me, boundaries are, like, I've had such low boundaries or not very high, you should be able to lower your boundaries and also raise them up when you need to. They don't have to stay up. Of course, you won't really, I don't think you will have flexibility of relationship when they're up all the time. I think you need to be able to lower them and know when to raise them up again. But I think I've had mine down for so long that I've thought, okay, you are my person, my boundaries can be down because you're not going to hurt me, you're not going to, and I've had to learn how to raise those up. And it's just something I've learned not recently. But
because you see, one of the other things we discussed that day that, I think if it wasn't you, I apologize, but I think it was you, that I was saying that even in marriage there should be boundaries, and the person who I think was one was
like, it wasn't you. Come fighting.
One who will come and hold her own was like oh really? And I was like because it's about your space, protecting yourself. It's not saying that you don't trust your husband or anything, but there's a level of personal stuff that's
I think it's part of growth and part of your relationship. But of course it depends on how you started, because sometimes it's hard to put up boundaries in a marriage when you started with very low boundaries. Yes, and most times you start with no boundary. In fact, you probably start with no boundaries or very, very, very low boundaries. So it is difficult, because there are times when
so you generally start with no boundaries, but I think there's certain boundaries that not everybody, but a lot of people have. Like, so for example, one boundary that I know that I have, which I didn't necessarily put up, was that if you raise your hand at me, so if my husband raised his hand at me.
As in what?
To beat me. But that's what I'm saying. So you're saying you start with no boundaries, but there are boundaries.
But I don't think those are boundaries. I don't think that's different.
No, what, you don't think it's a boundary?
I mean, that's not a boundary for someone to hit you.
So because I think that boundaries teach people how to treat you. And that's why I said it's for your protection.
Yes, absolutely.
So based on that, something like that, if we have situations where we've had somebody has slapped you once and you've not done anything, then later, many years later, it's been a thing. So what I'm saying is that from that first slap, the boundary should be put up that, okay, you know what, no.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
So absolutely. So different conversations, even
exactly.
ways of people speaking to you.
Yeah. Those are boundaries, but people don't think of them as boundaries.
Yes,
so I was just pulling up on what you said when you start with low.
Absolutely.
I think we do have boundaries, but we're not.
But I think some more comfortable boundaries that we would have.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
We would think of things like finances, right?
Oh yeah.
Like how do we control our boundaries when it comes to finances? Do we want to control them? Do we want to be very fluid in our financial relationships without spouse, then you think of things like decision making, work, your work, my work. Yeah. Do we want boundaries, or do we want to, do we want your, well, we work for ourselves, but if you're working in a corporate environment, how low do you want those boundaries where your husband is concerned, Yeah. Is he in all your decisions? I think sometimes it depends on how you come into the relationship.
True.
That you find, even friendships. If you have friends of the opposite sex, how does that work with your spouse? Do you understand? Are there boundaries there, or is there, are you able to? It's very, very...
Yeah, so
boundaries.
Boundaries, yeah, I think boundaries are very key, but you're right. And I think sometimes we think of them too, like boundaries could just be a conversation.
It could be.
It doesn't have to be like a whole fight.
It could be someone speaking to you and using a word that... There's some words that we come from our childhood, right? There are things like... I can't remember them now, but there's some that are very offensive. They might not have been offensive in my house growing up, but in yours they are.
Yeah.
And then, you have to realize that, well, that can't be said here anymore.
Okay. All right. So then number 3 was how people don't
always... It's not, you might take me one way, I might take you another, and it's not the same. I don't have to feel the same way that you feel about me.
Yeah, you see, I always say that I feel it's unfair of us to put our... I was going to use the word expectations, but I feel like sometimes it's unfair of me to think that you will treat me how I treat you.
Yeah.
That's not how I treat you is on me. And how you treat me is on you. I can't say to you, but I can, by putting back, I can say, well, if you're going to treat me like that, I don't want to be a part of this or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But it's unfair of me to say, because I buy you McDonald's every 2 days, you must buy me McDonald's every 3 days. Do you know what I mean? It's and I'm not... It's only because we had McDonald's on the way here.
Think, like, why are you saying that? Like, why are you telling people that?
But what I mean is, like, because I think sometimes we tend to expect people to do what we would do. And I'm always having to say, but Tineke, they're not you.
No.
This is what you would do. How they, you kind of have to. So yeah, I agree with that one. Okay. Yes. Any more?
What else have I learned? Look at the camera. No. I've learned how to love a little bit more, being happy with being alone.
What do you mean alone?
Just on my own. Like, I can do things on my own. That's why I love London. That's why I love London, because I love that I can, in Lagos, I can't really do that much on my own. I can go out for lunch on my own, but it always looks a bit funny. But here I can do everything on my own, and I like having my alone time. Like, I've always been a very, gather people, plenty people, let's go, let's all go here, let's all go there. And I've learned that, no, sometimes you have to enjoy your own company. You have to make that, and I'm a Cancerian, so I'm not, I know we're not going...
I don't even know...
I'm born in July. Okay, let me say, most July people, they're gatherers.
Okay.
They're very, you want plenty people over. Look how many people can come. Let's do it. I'm trying to release that. And so they all work together, because they work together with my boundaries. They work together. I'm now changing my mind. And they work together with the fact that, I'm treating you. You might not treat me that way. So let me stay in my space.
It's so interesting, because I actually honestly believe that so many people are not comfortable with themselves, as in they don't like being alone. And look
I know you are very happy to be on your own.
so happy. So you know what I mean, as in they struggle for whatever reason, maybe because they've always had people around, or maybe, and I just feel like the more time you spend alone, I think it makes you a better person, just because you get to know yourself better. Like you say, all these things that you're saying, maybe it's because of our alone time that you're getting them. No, you know what I mean? I think that you just...
I think it's just time. I think it's time. I think they all came, at different times, but within the same space.
Because how many minutes is that?
2 and 5.
Okay.
But now you made me lose my train of thought.
No, you say you think it's time. They all came.
Yeah, I think it's time. I think you understand that, You also, okay, so for me, I'm not someone that normally, like, I wouldn't want to travel on my own, right? And I don't apologize for that. I don't really want to. Yeah. It's not the best thing I would want to do, but, baby steps, like going about London on my own. Yes, perfectly happy to do that.
Okay. Last one, because we don't have a lot of time. Do you have any more? Are you done?
No, and I've also so that I can finish early. I don't have to have a last one. I'm just kidding. I can't think of one. I don't know my life.
Okay, all right. I mean, when you were talking, I was thinking, what have I learned? I guess you've been thinking about it because I have to go and think about what have I learned. Anyway, we don't have time for me to think about to talk about what I've learned. But I think, first of all, I think we're learning all the time.
We are.
And it's important that we are. And also that we're taking note of what we're learning. Because I think sometimes, when you think of learning, anyway, I think maturity, everything, we've reached the stage where we're thinking, putting together.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we started off with Home is Where the Heart Is. And we ended off with
changing our minds, which we did a couple of
changing
times.
our minds and talking about things that we've learned. So I don't even know how to end this off. But anyway, follow us on YouTube if you're not following us on YouTube. And do let us know your own comments, whether, about Home is Where the Heart Is or about what you have learned. If
changing your mind.
About changing your mind, anything, let us know. And yes, we will see you next time. I can't actually believe that. Yeah. Sorry, guys. We do change. It's Chinwe's fault because we've been very good before Chinwe. Chinwe always comes on and